Welcome back to another episode of The View from the Ninian. A mixed week in terms of results, but not a mixed week in terms of who's joining me on the pod this week. Tom and Ben, the usual duo, are back. Tom, hat on today?
Yeah, hat on, coffee in hand, rearing to go.
Ben, hat off, no coffee because it's nighttime for us, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I've got a very early start in the morning, so coffee right now would be a very bad move.
And why are you getting up so early?
Because I'm off to Copenhagen, because flights are dirt cheap.
Yeah, but expensive when you're there, though.
Yeah, that is that.
That's what everyone tells me. Never been. And you can maybe pop in and see Andreas Cornelius while you're there, if he's still playing for Copenhagen.
Is he back there? Because I feel like he's gone like six different...
I think he is back there. I don't know if he's on international duty, but he was back at Copenhagen earlier. We've already got.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I was about to say this is the earliest we've gone. Name a random ex-player, see where they are now.
About a minute in, and I'm already Wikipediaing Andreas Cornelius.
He definitely isn't in the Denmark squad because I was looking at possibly going to their game against Portugal on Thursday night. But tickets are £130 a ticket.
Jeez.
Say it.
For a restricted view.
Oh, right, okay.
Let's take a red Cardiff shirt and try and get Cornelius to sign it. He's not there. We've already discussed this. He's not there. Right, 2 games to talk about on this week's pod. One game worse than the other. And that was happening on Tuesday night, where Cardiff, in a must-win game at home to Luton, obviously lost, because that's what Cardiff City does. Ben, you were at the game. Give us your 2-sentence review.
It was bad. Really, 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 really bad.
Is that 2 sentences or was that one long sentence?
It was bad is 1 sentence. Really, really bad.
Really bad. Got it. Yeah, I have written down here, Ben, it was 2 really poor teams on the night. And they were just able to score 1 more goal than us, really, weren't they?
Yeah, but they were the better side out of 2 really poor sides, which is a massive worry for me. And that's where I'm sort of panicking about this whole thing and sort of has really made me concerned. This was a game that could put us with real nice breathing room. I know it's like the cliche 6-pointer, but it really was. And the way the results went that night as well couldn't have gone much worse. All in all, it just geared up for like a disastrous result. But along with the result, the performance was pathetic. It was just absolutely honking from the first minute.
Yeah, Tom, it wasn't a classic, was it?
No, it was one of the worst games I'd seen for a long while. It made me do my once every 3-month tweet. That's how annoyed I was with it at halftime. It was just like I said earlier on, it was 2 poor teams, but we were by far the worst in the first half. It's just every time we tried to clear our lines, it wouldn't stick. It would bounce over someone's foot into touch. We couldn't get out of our half, and we just didn't get going at all. And like, I know you have these games, these kind of like relegation scraps where there's just angst around the whole fixture, but like it was one of the worst ones I've seen. Sometimes you get a bit of a classic out of that because it's 2 teams fighting, but it was 2 nervy teams who completely lacked quality. And looking at it half time, like the stats were horrendous. I think like the XG, I know people hate it, and I'm growing to hate it more and
people
more.
But it was like switching off at the match.
They are switching off. Sorry, I'm trying to get in early. I hate it. But it's like it was like 0.05, 0.02 or something mad. Like it was just a bad game of football that lacked quality. We didn't get pretty much 0 touches in their box. We just didn't get going at any point, and it was a really, really tough watch.
I think you know it's a bad game when it strikes 45 minutes and the referee literally goes, right, that's enough of that. I can't deal with any more.
Added time.
Yeah. It was honking.
Yeah, the XG in the first half was 0.16 for Cardiff and 0.05 for Luton.
Yeah.
So there wasn't even a 0.2% chance, 0.2. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, I lost the math. I'm quite hungover. Ben, bad game of football. Even worse for Aaron Ramsey. Went off injured. He looked pretty devastated, didn't he?
I genuinely felt sad seeing it.
Yeah.
I thought in that first half, probably the only positive was his performance. He was the only player for us, like pushing, sort of creating the press. He worked really hard, and the other players didn't support him in like the press and stuff like that. And you could see he was getting frustrated. And because of that, dare I say, it might be the last time we ever see him in a Cardiff shirt. it was like such a weird, like somber moment for me because like Ramsey sort of that one of the first players to sort of remember coming through from like the age group and really making an impact, and seeing that moment where he's like he threw the armband down right by there and knew it to come off, and that all happens and we score like a minute later, but I'm still looking at him going, oh, I'm gutted about Ramsey. So it was a really weird moment for me, like that celebration, because the main thing I was thinking about was Ramsey.
Yeah, it just feels like every time he starts putting together a run of games, or we see him a little bit more, something happens. His hamstrings must just be made of glass because he can't seem to shake that injury off. It remains to be seen. Obviously, I think his contract is up this year. He's talked about sticking around and doing something. It doesn't feel like he's going to go anywhere else at this stage. So I imagine we'll probably see him in some capacity next year, but whether he'll play, I don't know. Tom, that kind of came just before our goal. Callum Chambers with, I don't know why he's so prolific. I don't think he scored many before this season, but that was his second goal of this season. A lovely little volley, wasn't it?
He's great. That boy can strike a ball, can he? Like, he's dangerous in that position. His technique, head over the ball, control. And it was one hell of a strike. Well, he nearly scored two of them as well, didn't he? He had one cannon off the crossbar not long after. And at that point, I thought we'd kick on here because Luton was so poor. Yeah. I thought, right, this could be the nail in the coffin.
That'll knock their confidence, right?
Yeah, definitely. But what did we last 7 minutes then before they got back into it? And that was a fantastic strike as well. I think they didn't look like they were going to create much, and it was going to need that moment of magic. Same with us. We weren't really creating much. Chambers pulls that out of nowhere. Fantastic strike. And then they follow it up, and it completely kills the momentum. But it was a great strike from Chambers.
Ben, as Tom pointed out there, it only lasted 7 minutes until they scored. Again, it didn't really knock their confidence, probably spurred Luton on. I mean, we can talk about their first goal. It was a great strike, but it kind of comes from a situation where a few Cardiff players just don't react to the situation, do they? The ball's bouncing around, their players running onto the ball, and our players just got caught a bit flat-footed, Colwell in particular.
It's not even flat-footed. He pulls out of a tackle. And that is a huge issue with him. I know people are sort of saying he shouldn't have been like sort of playing out wide and all that. But basics in football is not pulling out of a tackle, especially in like a dangerous area like that. Colwell gets the slightest bit of a touch on that. The ball doesn't end up at Clark's feet and he doesn't score a screamer. It's a fantastic finish. I'm taking nothing away from him. But the ball should never have got there in the first place. And it all lies with Colwell there because he's the man to cut that ball out, and he might get slightly hurt, but if he wore proper shin pads, it wouldn't be an issue. It's just he just fannied out of it completely.
These fancy Dan footballers with their socks rolled down.
I know it's a proper Brexit opinion, but it can be it's the only thing I can think about why he's because he literally pulls his leg away to avoid getting hit. In a relegation battle, you don't want that. You need people that are willing to take a bit of a knock and sort of fight through it. Colwell at the moment isn't showing that, especially in that game. I was fuming.
I even think it doesn't have to be his foot. Like if he's clever enough, he can kind of anticipate where the ball's going to go and just try and block him off with his body. He's big enough. And if you just got his body in the way, it doesn't like you say, it is a great strike, but he doesn't have that strike if he doesn't get the free run at it. And that's effectively what happened. Colwell kind of hesitated and it opened up for him. Can't take away anything from the strike, Tom. He hits it very cleanly, but it's frustrating, isn't it, that it's come from our mistake?
Yeah, 100%. I think at that point, you're looking just to build, score the goal and then sit back and just absorb a little bit of pressure because Luton are a team low on confidence, just like we are. And I think you get to kind of like 15 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes after the goal, they start to run out of ideas a little bit. It starts to get a bit more comfortable. I thought in and around our goal, we were starting to get a bit more of a hold on the game. I thought we started the second half a little bit brighter. So I think just the timing of it was really frustrating. So you just want them to clear their lines there. Just do, like Ben said, do the basics. Make the tackles, get in the way, make it a bit difficult for them. And we just didn't do that. It looked like we were lacking a bit of fight at that point. I don't know whether it was nerves or what, but just the timing of it was really, really frustrating because I think, if we get to the 70-minute mark in that game, I think we see it out because I just don't think Luton had enough quality at that point to really scare us.
And then, Ben, obviously they go on to win the game, but in between them scoring that goal and the winning goal, we have seen Callum Chambers like strike it off the bar. Again, another great strike, and if that goes in, it's a completely different story, isn't it? Because I think at that point that would probably kill their confidence completely.
Yeah, it's a great hit. He's really unlucky with it, but it's the only thing we really created in a really poor performance was from a bloke that was brought in to play as a centre back, who's now playing in central midfield. It was a telling situation about how the overall performance was. I feel like once again, substitutions were all wrong, sort of put us under a bit of unnecessary pressure that invited Luton to come onto us a bit more. And all of that sort of culminates in what happens then for their goal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a common theme, isn't it? The Reza kind of in-game management. He's very naive, isn't he, Tom?
I think it's just, I'm not even sure it's naive. I just don't think he's got ideas. I think that's the worrying thing. I don't think he knows what to do in that situation. I think it's a lack of kind of creativity, really. I don't want to say, it just doesn't seem to have the acumen there to kind of change games, to see what's happening in front of him and kind of do something about it. And I think at this stage of the season, when you're running out of games, when you need ideas, that's worrying. It feels like it's kind of, we've got options on the bench at the moment as well. It feels like we're slightly deeper than we have been in the past. And I think that's what worries me. It's that kind of it feels like some of our fans can assess the game better than our management team at the moment. And they can see what's happening. You can see where the momentum's going. We can see who's dropping off and things like that. I don't know whether they're too heavily looking at stats and not enough on vibe. There are sometimes you can look at, I think sometimes though, like you can
Well, you
look
just need some of the passes to sniff test, don't you? That's what it is. Like you can see when things aren't working.
Yeah, exactly, right. And I think sometimes games can go too far. Like someone might be running out of like like energy and things like that, but they might get a second wind and things like that, basic stuff. But people come into it at different times of the game. But I don't know, at the moment, a substitute seems to be the thing that's really letting us down. There's been times where we got ourselves back into games and we've got themselves back out of it by like making subs at the wrong time. I think that's a really worrying kind of trend to have when you've got 8 games left of the season and you're 1 point over the relegation zone.
It's not so much like, sometimes it's the change in shape. Other times, like against Luton, it was the personnel being brought on.
Yeah.
I don't get when you're looking at that. Colwell didn't have a good game. We needed width that wide. Probably the most creative wing we've had for like this season, sort of, well, I expect this sort of half of the season has been Ashford.
Yeah.
All right, he's in a bit of a drop off. But instead of looking at Ashford for a bit of pace and a bit of width that wide, he's looked at Willock. And there's been flashes with Willock where I can sort of think, oh, he's a good player and he's a good signing. But for the most part, he's flattered to deceive. He's not really got going yet. And I don't know where you're looking at the bench thinking Willock's the bloke to bring on there. Davis coming on, then I get that, want a bit more pace. So that's what he was going for then. It made sense. But then the only other player that was on the pitch at that time causing problems was Will Alves. Getting the ball down, running at people, looking to take people on, looking to create stuff. A minute later, when he finally got that bit of pace on the pitch, he's taking him off and bringing off Robinson and bringing on Callum Robinson. And I get why Robinson's full of goals. But out of all the players on there, surely if you're looking to go a bit more attacking, you bring off Chambers or you make the change for Gutas sooner and leave Alves on there, because Alves was causing an absolute mayhem. He was the only player of ours like looking capable of scoring anything or creating something for a goal.
That's true, but the player who did create a goal in the end was Dimi Gutas, Ben, for their goal. He's taken a lot of flack for it. He's got to do something, hasn't he? And it just falls so unluckily to Asgard.
Yeah, that's literally just bad luck. It's summed up us there. I think Gutas had quite a good game, despite what the bloke next to me was saying. He was one, like, he is our best defender. He's got a clanger in him, and I get that, but he's got to throw himself at that. He's got to put his body in the way. It just drops the wrong person. There's plenty of mistakes in players, like Gutas has made plenty, but of all the mistakes he's made this season, that's probably one of the lightest ones. It's just he got punished for it.
It's just one of those, isn't it? He has to do something to try and block the ball. It's just, I think there's a failure on other players following up as well. And Asgard was in just a lot of space. And Gutas seems to be the one who kind of was the fall guy for it, Tom, because going ahead to Blackburn, obviously that was yesterday, Saturday, we won that game, and Gutas is out the starting lineup for Will Puskod.
I didn't expect you to do that. That doesn't really tickle me. Okay, let me compose myself. I think it's probably good for Gutas to get out of the firing line a little bit. I think it's been really interesting to see how quickly our fans have turned on him, I'd say, recently.
Yeah.
I think if you look like 6-7 weeks ago, I think the consensus would be he's our strongest defender, he's been our most consistent performer, but he's become a real scapegoat.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's got to scapegoat status yet.
No.
Or I don't think he's anywhere near it, to be honest with you.
He's been one of our most consistent performers in his time here, really.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I do understand it. I think it's been a frustrating season and you're looking to kind of vent that frustration on someone, but I don't think that's who we should be venting it at. But, you know, the Championship, you get a lot of games in quick succession. Will Puscod has been fairly dependable over the last few weeks. So it's not, I understand the thinking behind it because it was a change of shape, a shape that I couldn't really work out from the starting lineup. I didn't have a fucking clue what was going on. No. But yeah, fair play to Reeza changing it up a little bit and getting him out of the firing line. Because I think if he'd made a mistake in the first 20, 30 minutes of that game as well, I think the fans would have completely lost their rag.
I realised Will Fish did play against Luton. I just wanted to get Will Puscod in before we got on to anything else. That's a Reece Jenkins special. He spent the whole game yesterday calling him Will Puscod. And I thought you'd like it, Tom. Yeah, Ben, let's talk about that kind of starting lineup. What?
Yeah, still can't work it out. I watched the game. I spent a lot of time trying to literally just looking at the shape of the game, trying to figure out what it was, and still can't quite suss it.
It was definitely 3 centre-backs. I know that much.
Sometimes it wasn't. There was times I'm going, right, it's definitely a flat back 3 with wing backs. And then all of a sudden it'd be a back 4. And I'm going, what the fuck's going on here? Why is O'Dowd playing as a winger?
We definitely changed second half to go flat back 4. But I think the start of the game, it was a very low block with the 3 centre-backs. It didn't look good the first half anyway. Sorry, Ben.
No. We were as confused as I think the players were. It was a very disjointed start. I don't think we're ready or capable of playing the one-man pivot with Chambers in that role. I think we need to stick Manzurk in there at the very least and sort of have 2 there to sort of shore us up that way because there was just so much coming through the middle. You're rushing Rinomhota back. Clearly wasn't fit.
Rowles wasn't fit.
Rowles definitely wasn't fit because he came off injured. And then, Rinomhota as a wing-back unfit is not something I ever want to see again because the poor bloke was hung out to dry for most of that first half.
Yeah, being at the game and kind of we were so deep for so long. We had no out balls on the wings. There was nothing. We couldn't do anything. Obviously, we started the game really strongly. And it was like, okay, we're going to kick on from here. We just got worse and worse as the game went on. And there were moments, to your point about the players being confused. Robbo was looking at Reeza for some direction. They were walking back after their goals, and Rowles was just kind of shrugging his shoulders towards Robbo as if like, I don't really know what's going on either. It was genuinely disconcerting in that first half. After the goal, and Tom, we should talk about the goal because we've always wanted Cardiff to start strongly, and we did. First 5 minutes, Yusuf Salek, he scores all the time. Just a great header, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's good at it, isn't he?
Yeah. Good footballer.
That's some first-class analysis there from me. He's good, isn't he?
It's not the worst we'll say this podcast, mate. Don't worry about it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself.
He is just good, though. And it's just, he's scoring a lot of goals. Like I said last week, without looking like flash, he's just in the right place. And football can be a very, very simple game sometimes. If you get the ball out wide, cross it in, and head it into the back of the net. And that is our strength at the moment. Like, he is just a big lump. He gets in the box. He's in the right positions. And, like, that is hard to do. It's hard to get in those positions. It's hard to get a bit of space. And he finds space by clever movement. He finds space by knocking the blokes over. But he finds space. And tell you what, he's turning out to be one of the best signings we've made in a long time. Because to consistently score goals at this level when you're completely new to this league, this country, this style of football, if you can call our football style, it takes some doing. And he's getting us out. If we didn't have him at the moment, we'd be in big shit. We're in pretty deep shit anyway. But
be deeper.
he's been so consistent over the last few weeks. And I think I can safely say that I was wrong about Project Substitute Bench and bringing him on for a late impact. I think he's the first name on the team sheet now.
I think he scored a goal every 125 minutes on a Cardiff shirt.
It's not bad, is it?
And he's taking the pressure off Robinson, because obviously Robinson's been nursing his injury. I don't think he's with the Ireland squad this international break to kind of help him recover a little bit with his Achilles. So he has taken the pressure off Robinson this second half of the season. Ben, talk about the cross. I didn't realise it was Mansverk who put the cross in, but he hit that cross bloody hard, didn't he?
Yeah, he proper whipped that in. That is
right on Salic's bonce as well.
When you're playing FIFA, that is holding down square for the longest time. Fair play to him, proper. It's just nice to see, just a bit of purpose to a ball into the box for the first time in a long time. It's just them primed for Salic to attack, isn't it? It's just the right height, just a lovely ball. I thought Mansverk, when he came on against Luton, was solid. Gave the ball away a bit towards the end, but for the most part looked all right. But when he starts, I think he's a really, really classy midfielder. He's not going to sort of create 20, 30 goals. He's not that sort of midfielder, but just for hard work, great, simple passing, getting things moving. I think he's a lovely player. And just stuff like that just shows why Ajax signed him.
I like how you said he's not going to create 20, 30 goals when we talk about him creating a goal.
Yeah, fair.
It was a lovely little...
Was he?
No, well, we'll have to wait and see on that. We're probably not going to have him for another season. It was a lovely little feint by him as well. Reno played the ball down the line and he just drops his shoulder and sends the Blackburn defender for a hot dog. But it didn't last long, did it, Tom? They scored within sort of 10 minutes. I think it was around 15 minutes they got their goal. It was just really bad defending by everyone involved, wasn't it?
I don't know. I watched it. It's quite a well-worked goal. I think it's a really, really good finish. He gets the ball kind of like before the front post, like ahead of front post. He's done quite well to put it where he has. I don't think it's as bad defending as I first thought. I don't know whether I'm being a little bit kind on this.
You're being very kind.
I think you're being. I think you're being. So I think my problems with it is that Reno gets beaten really easily and then kind of gives up. And kind of he goes one way and doesn't try and get back. You know, he kind of just stops. And he doesn't get the cross, but he could have at least tried to make a challenge, put the guy off whatever it is. There's three defenders in there, and none of them seem to be able to keep track of their man. I know we've already talked about Wish Puskod, but he seems to lose his man. He gets caught between NG and Chambers. NG kind of flaps a foot at it when he probably could have attacked the ball a bit better. And then Horvath, I think it catches Horvath by surprise, but he doesn't really get a strong hand behind it. So I don't know. It just felt like there was just a litany of poor defending in there. Ben, I don't know if you agreed with me.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think the blame is with Puskod at that.
Thank you very much.
Just lets his man go. Just no one there. NG then can't do anything about it. NG's covering that zone where he's supposed to be. Puskod just lets him go. And then what is NG supposed to do? He's got to try and react to that. And just, he's got no chance, has he? It's like NG's been at fault for a lot. And when I first saw it, I thought, oh Christ, NG's lost his man again. But no, it just shows how much space he got given. And it's a nice header. I think Horvath probably could do better if he got it again. But to be honest, most of that lies with the centre-back and just shit marking again. And again, these goals happen too often for it just to be individual mistakes now. This is a coaching issue.
Well, when you both put it like that, fine.
Yeah, reappraise it.
Have your way. I was trying to be positive. I thought it was like a decent finish. I thought
it's a good header. He's done well.
I think you're like, if he gets it there, that part of the box, what's he going to do with it? Perhaps you're playing the percentages a little bit. It does look bad when your keeper doesn't really move. I think that kind of makes it. That probably lulled me into thinking, I don't know, perhaps it's taken everyone by surprise. Perhaps it's a decent bit of play, but I suppose you are right. Like we've seen that type of goal so often from us, where our defenders look like statues, and there's more movement from the attacking players than any of our defenders like attacking the ball. But I probably am being a little bit kind in hindsight. Changed my mind pretty quickly on that one. Not gonna lie.
There you go. Yeah, good. Glad we could win you round.
Nice.
Then first half, it was just dire, wasn't it? All over the park. It felt like we were. After their goal, we kind of went into our shell and we just dropped deeper and deeper, and it looked like we were the team who was going to lose the game.
Yeah, we looked dead and buried. I think it very much looked like a team that are in the midst of a relegation battle and don't know how they're going to get themselves out of it. Luckily, Blackburn are terrible. They're in a really bad run of form and didn't punish us, because I think a decent side that's capable of making the playoffs, I think they'd have beaten us by 3 or 4 just in that first half after they scored that first goal.
Yeah, I just thought I think we were set up all wrong. We've been critical of Reza and his shape, but I think in that first half it was really bad. I think we really suffered from not having any wingers. I think the pressure was on Rinomhota and O'Dowda to be both offensive and defensive, and it just didn't work. And we had no creativity in the middle of the park. And Mansfield put a great cross in, but apart from that, him, Chambers, and Rolls aren't really going to create too much. And I think Tom, we've talked about Reza's substitutions, but it was substitution in the first half that I think changed the game in our favour, really. And I think taking Rolls off when he was clearly struggling for Colwill probably helped us out.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's an interesting one with Colwill sometimes. Like I think we've said in the past, where sometimes when he starts games, he gets completely lost. But in a game like this, where you need a little bit of quality, he does add something. Like he just, not that he added too much in the game, but more than anyone else around him on the pitch was. Because, like you said, I think like
there was a bit of an outlet, wasn't there? That's what changed.
He just
exactly that, like that little bit of quality and hold on to the ball and stuff, where the ball isn't coming immediately straight back at you because someone has got enough about them to feint one way, hold on to the ball for that extra 3 or 4 seconds to get people out and stuff like that. And that's what he does add. And like the championship is mad this year because Blackburn are a team who are in and around the playoffs and are looking at a playoff push, and they're shite. And there's just so many teams, like we've said in past weeks, that are in that kind of mid-table area who don't look good at all, and suddenly they find themselves in 5th. Looking at you, Bristol City, and it's just there's those types of games where Colwill does stand out sometimes, where there's just a lack of quality everywhere, and he's definitely a handy person to bring off the bench in that situation.
I will give Reza credit for, I think like the easy sub there is bringing on Turnbull, who's probably not as sort of outlay, like sort of creative as Colwill. But I think fair play to Reeves. We saw the opportunity there. Right, I can add a bit more creativity. It's clearly not working with this shape. Let's try something different. He rolled the dice and it did pay off with Colwill. So like we've criticised like a few of his changes, but I think he got it right with Colwill as opposed to the other options he could have gone with.
I think the key thing that love Joe Rolls, but in that first half, there were just a couple of moments where you just thought he's clearly not right. And there was just like long pumped balls over the top to nobody in particular. And obviously we talked about the ball just then came straight back to us, or the ball went out of play for a throw-in and Blackburn were able to build. What Colwill did was he just runs with the ball in transition. So instead of trying to, if he gets the ball 10 yards inside his own half, he tries to run 10, 15 yards before he does anything with it, or he tries to take on a player before he does anything with it. And I think that then gives time for players to kind of reposition and get up with him. Whereas Rolls just tried to boot it forward and other players will just try and boot it forward. So I think that was the key thing for me when Colwill came on. And it kind of, that carried into the second half, which we were a much better side. So I'll talk about that. But first, Ben, we had a bit of debate in our group chat about Tyrese Dolan offside goal. He was probably their best player, Tyrese Dolan. He did fuck all, but he was really good at doing little turns. He could just do a little back heel every now and again. It was lovely to watch, actually. YouTube clip's going to look great. Didn't do anything with it, of course, but looked good while he did it. At the time, being behind the goal, it looked like he was in line. I've seen videos of it where he looks like he's in line, but then there is a still from that video where he looks slightly ahead of Bagan. I think his reaction was quite telling. He doesn't complain. He doesn't moan. Do you think he was offside, Ben, or are you unsure?
I still can't decide. I've watched it at the time. I thought, it's clearly offside. Then you sort of look at the photos back and the replay and you think, oh, that's a lot tighter than I thought it was.
Yeah.
When it happened in real time, I thought, it's clear cut and dry. He's offside. No worries. Even when he scored it, I didn't think, fucking hell. I was like, well, they're bound to flag this as offside. Looking at it, I think maybe we've got away with one. I think, I don't know. The linesman had to be very sure he was offside, and I don't know how he was very sure he was offside because I still can't decide now.
Tom, do you think he was offside?
No clue whatsoever. I've watched it so many times, looked at the still, but they've given it. And I was going to say we'd do a bit of luck. We're probably not. We don't deserve fuck all. We haven't played well enough to deserve luck. But it's so tight. You can see why it could be given either way. But you can understand why it's given as well, with just the momentum, which way the players are moving as well in that split second. But I'm not sure if we got away with one as such, because it's so tight that I think by the still he might be offside, but it is ever so slight. But this new Wenger rule that I'm heard about, I don't think he would be offside.
The daylight rule.
Yeah, the torso or whatever it is, rather.
Yeah.
But I think it's super tight, and I'm glad it's gone in our favour, obviously.
I think our reaction helps. I think because we sort of stop because we're shit. The linesman clearly goes, "Oh, well, he was definitely offside then, because look how far ahead he is of everyone else." It's not that we stops.
I also just think I think Dolan's reaction is the most telling, because he doesn't complain, he doesn't get angry, he just kind of accepts it. And I think he probably, in the still we've seen, he's kind of looking across the line, and he probably realizes that his body was slightly further ahead. So I could see why it was given. Looking back at it, but at the time I thought it was onside.
I think it does highlight though, how react. At the end of the day, officials are human, and the way people react does influence decisions. I think I've mentioned before, when I was my football sessions, my coach Wayne would do a session with us where whoever shouted the loudest gets awarded the free kick. Just get us in the habit of being shit houses. Shout out to Wayne. And it does make a difference. I went to watch AFL on the weekend, and it's some of the situations where the crowd start really hollering for something. You can see the umpires give it slightly later and go along with the momentum. And sometimes I think as a team we lack that kind of nous.
Yeah,
and shithousery. There's been situations where we probably should have had a penalty. So was it Portsmouth game? Probably, wasn't it? Where it doesn't look like any of our players appeal. And that's where you do need someone getting up in the. I don't want to encourage it, but that's how it works. You need to get in the grill of the officials, start shouting, start appealing, and we need a little bit more of that dog about us, that kind of savviness, and I think we lack that.
Well, we'll get to that point, Tom, because we'll see that later on in the game, won't we? Let's talk about the second half, Ben. We were just much better in the second half, and I think it boils down to, and this is where Reza probably deserves some credit, is for the substitutions he made in this game. I think bringing on Will Alves was key. Obviously, Mate got the goal, bringing on Isaac Davis, because all of a sudden we just had players with pace and we could play on the front foot, didn't we?
Yeah, but it does beg the question why we didn't start with those. I think he got that starting lineup horrifically wrong. It's just, I got what he was trying to go for. He's trying to go for a bit more gritty, a bit more determination from the players' picks, and sort of, like you said, he said himself, he's picking players that are going to battle. The problem is he picked up players that were going to battle that were missing an arm and a leg. It was just a real struggle for it. And from there as well, you've got the battling, but there's no creativity, and we just struggled. I also do still question some of the substitutions of you go in there, you're finally getting the width. You saw what Salek could do with a decent cross in. You got players now capable of doing that, and he's the man that gets subbed. When Robinson didn't really do a lot, to be honest, did he? Until, well, for the whole game, it wasn't his best game. He worked hard, and I'm not slagging him off, but out of the two strikers, when you're making a change on the hour mark, Salek wasn't the bloke I'd be taking off.
I don't think you should slag off Callum Robinson. Only idiots do that. I think the Salek change is more to do with Ramadan, because he's fasting. I think that's the reality. We're not going to get 90 minutes out of a lot of the players who are fasting at the moment, because I just think that's what it is, and it's why Mate came on a little bit later. I agree with you, though. I wouldn't have taken him off because he was having a good game. And I think he does the things that Callum Robinson doesn't do particularly well, which is pin players, win the headers and flick-ons and do all that kind of stuff. But I do think it was enforced because of the time of year that it is. Will Alves, Tom, is a lovely footballer, isn't he?
Yeah, you can see why he's held in such high regard. I think, like we mentioned before, he was unlucky with that injury, and we're benefiting from the fact he had that injury because he wouldn't be around us. No. It's just he needs game time and needs to be playing some football. And yeah, technically, he's a fantastic player. He's probably arguably been one of our best players in the last few weeks. He's just got that little bit about him, hasn't he? Where you can take on a man. He's so good on the ball. He's exciting. Type of player that we haven't had many of in the last few years. And I'd be playing him at every opportunity between now and the end of the season because he adds something to that starting lineup that we don't have elsewhere. Like we've got players with pace, but it's just the tactical ability and just the way he is on the ball is he's so good to watch.
I think my only criticism for him is he likes to take a man on when taking that man on, and then he tries to take him on again. He cuts back up and then instead of going down the line and across, he tries to do it. So he's whipping the ball in. If he's on the right, he's trying to whip it in with his left foot all the time. I'd love to see him cut that out because he can be a bit more direct then. But yeah, he's finally getting championship football in it. It's taken him a couple of games to really get up to speed, but he's hitting it now and he's getting it. He's up to pace with the game very quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, he obviously put the cross in for Meite's goal, which we'll talk about next, but he also went close with a great strike from outside the box as well, which he made all by himself. And I just think I think his close control is unbelievable. When you see the way he moves the ball out of his feet and looks to do something with the next touch, it's a joy to watch. And I think he's also got massive arms. I don't know if you saw the photo of him celebrating after the game, but his arms are huge. He's a such a you
thing.
Well.
Such a you thing to
Someone else said it as well. They said as well, Alves turned into the Incredible Hulk. I don't know who it was, but someone did say that. Let's talk about Yaku Meite. Feed the yak, he will score. My hero, my Meite. Question for both of you. Ben, did you curse when he brought Meite on?
I was literally about to press send on a tweet slagging off Freezer for making the change and slagging off Meite, going, when you're looking for goals. I'll say what it was. I added up the goals combined from Robinson and Salek and said, why are you doing that? I'm bringing on Yaku Meite and Isaac Davis, who combined over the past 12 months have got one championship goal. Had my finger hovering over send when the ball went over and he scored, and I pressed cancel instead of send like the coward I am.
You've got to double down, mate. Don't back down, double down. That's what you've got to do in those situations. Tom, did you curse when he came on?
I'd fallen asleep at this point. I'd ordered a McDonald's to try and stay awake and fell asleep before it got delivered. So I wasn't cursing. I was cursing retrospectively when I saw what happened, looking at the highlights, though, to be fair. But who can fault him, eh? He's come on, scored. He didn't goad the crowd, which was nice.
No, he ignored
he's learned it. Yeah.
He ran to the other corner where none of our fans were.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's arguably worse.
No, I respect that more. I'm all for that.
I reckon.
Yeah, they're giving it the big one when you've scored one goal. I like when you've got the record he has. I think shit. I think just going, nah, bollocks, dear. If you're a dick to me, I'm not going to pay you any attention. I don't mind that. He gets a lot of grief. I was going to give him grief. Yeah, go for the other side. That's fine.
I thought, I didn't really mind it. The goal, Tom, I assume you've seen it now, even though you're asleep.
I have, yeah.
It was just a lovely bit of classic wing play, wasn't it? Callum McDowder, lovely bit of skill to get past his marker. Played it down to Alves, who cut inside his right foot, which Ben Price hates. Put in a lovely cross. And Meite, it was just a simple glancing header, wasn't it? But the cross just made it for him.
I think I said this earlier on, and I'll say it again. Football's a simple game when you can just cross it in the box and put a head in the back of the net, innit? It was really nice play, nice build up, and it was a really, really good ball into the box. It's one of those ones where you don't have to put a lot of power on it because the way that it's been whipped in, it's just a glancer just to help it on its way. And that is our strong point at the moment. We've got players who can do that, and we haven't been doing that enough in the last few weeks. And hopefully now we start to do it a bit more. It is just a really well-worked goal in a game that lacked quality. Our quality was coming from our wide balls into the box. And it was just a well-worked goal all around and something I want to see more of over the next 8 games.
Yeah. Tom, Ben, sorry, did you have a problem with the cross from Will Alves cutting in on his right foot?
No, I think that was one of the times he only took the man on once.
I did it, he just cut back inside, didn't he? Put the cross in. Yeah.
So basically, do you know what I just said?
Yeah.
You proved me right, didn't it?
It has proved you right, Ben.
It has, yeah.
We could have had a third, Ben. Not quite sure how either Alves or your man Meite missed it. Alves cut in on his right again. Did try to take on too many men. Took it past the keeper. Keeper made a save. Meite's one's cleared off the line. That would have been nice, wouldn't it? Nice icing on the cake to win it 3-1.
Yeah, that's good goalkeeping, though, isn't it? the keeper, it's very easy for a keeper to be stranded there and sort of say, well, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
He threw himself at that and got just enough on it, and he was really, really well done. And to be fair to Maye, there's 5 blokes on the line there. They've put their body across. He's tried slotting it. It's not an easy finish. I'll let him off after he scored 1. But I think like the outcry, if he hadn't have scored before, if he had missed that, would have been enormous.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's true.
We were quite polite to him after that one. And Tom, it was still time for some controversy. The 91st minute, cross wings into the box. A penalty is given. I at the time, being at the other end of the pitch, I thought there must have been a foul or O'Dowda must have pulled the guy down, but he didn't. It was just a really blatant handball by the Blackburn player. It would have been an absolute nightmare if the referee had given that and followed through on his decision, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because it's just not a penalty at any point. And I know there's like Blackburn fans moaning about how it's overturned and stuff, but it's just not a penalty in the first place. Like, not a chance. I don't think I would have recovered from that being given. I think I'd have had to just sit in a dark room and just in silence for days, because that would have felt like such an injustice. And it would have just, I think it would have just felt like, okay, that's us down.
Yeah,
I think it's those moments are massive, and thank God it was overturned, because it's just not a penalty.
Yeah, and
I don't know what was given. To be honest with you,
I don't know either. And I don't know what he's given it for, because when I watched it at the time, I assumed he thought there was a foul, right? I assumed he thought O'Dowda had nudged him in the back or pulled him. But then the commentator said he gave it for handball.
Yeah,
and it's not even a handball against O'Dowda.
So fair play to him for not seeing race. Because
very progressive, actually. I think he commended it. Yeah,
it's got to be rewarded. This woke refereeing's going well, because there is quite a difference between Gay and O'Dowda, just in stature. So yeah, it's a honking decision. And fair play to the linesman for the one being like, nah, that definitely wasn't a penalty. That.
Yeah, and it's very rare that you see the referee kind of take that advice on and listen to the linesman. And Tom, were you happy with the Cardiff players surrounding the referee at that moment?
Yes, I forgot about this when I went on my little rant.
You ranting
yeah, it's true. But it shows, though, it does make a difference. If they done fuck all in that situation, you never know, because if there's not a furore around it, you might be able to just like carry on with that decision and get on with it, and that's what you want in that situation. But yeah, like I said earlier, it would have been a complete injustice if that had been given against us. Because there's just not anything wrong with it.
What I'd like to say is a shout out to Will Alves. After the penalty was given, the first thing he did was ran over and scuffed up the penalty spot. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. I remembered that, and I wrote that in my phone at 8 p.m. last night while I was in the pub. So Will Alves scuffing up the penalty spot. If you, I don't know if you can see it on the highlights, but like he just beelines for it and just does 2 massive scuffs on the penalty spot. And I think if you see it afterwards, you can see his boot mark on the spot. So
I rate that so much.
I rate it. All I would say is, Will, do it next to the spot next time where you think the player's going to plant their foot, because that causes a problem as well. Just don't do it on the penalty spot. Do both.
That's a good point.
That's good.
Yeah, see, I know how to shit out and I know how to scuff up a penalty spot. Don't you worry about that.
I do think we got away with one as well, mind, because we
did get away one earlier.
O'Dowda did rip him down by the neck in basically a choke slam, and the referee didn't give anything. So, as aggrieved as sort of Blackburn fans were with it being reversed, I also think if the referee had given the one before, I couldn't have complained at all, because
Yeah, I thought that at the time, even though it was at the end of the pitch, it looked like we got away with one. I haven't seen it back, because it doesn't seem to be in any of the highlights packages. I might need to watch the extended highlights again, because I kind of watched that half awake. But yeah, it was a very important 3 points yesterday, considering the other results. Derby obviously won their 3 games in a row. Now they won, they beat Plymouth. At one point, it looked like Nat Phillips had scored an own goal to take it to a 2-2 draw. Thank you, Nat. But he didn't. They lost the game 3-2. Plymouth did. Rudy Gestead, apparently technical director of Blackburn, forgot about this. Told a Blackburn fan to fuck off at the end of the game yesterday. So
class.
Bluebird legend. And obviously the bottom half has tightened up. We'll talk about that next. But first, we'll go over to Twitter. Twitter.com/VFT Ninian. Ryan Chard, friend of the pod, 8 games left, 24 points up for grabs. To all 3 of you, how many are we taking? I'm guessing Mr. Positivity, Tom Phillips, will find a way of getting us on 27. How many are we getting? Ben?
What are we on? I think we'll get 7 more.
So we'll end on 46.
Yeah.
Tom?
I started looking at the fixtures and realised I was giving us too many points instantly. I was like, I think we could win those first 3 games we've got coming up. Let's have a look. I don't know. I reckon we've got 11, maybe.
I was going to go around the 10 mark. I think we've got some winnable games, and then we've got Norwich last day of the season. If they've got nothing to play for, we could get 3 points there.
Like, looking at the fixtures, like it's interesting because I think there's only one game in that run where you're going, nah, we're not getting anything from that, and that's Sheffield United away. The rest of them, you could imagine there's a chance of us getting points in every single one of those games. And it wouldn't be a complete... Like, if you got someone... You can get someone from the Sheffield United game, but it would be a shock. I don't think any of those other games are a shock. Like, Wednesday at home, QPR away, Preston away, and then you've got Stoke at home, Oxford at home, West Brom at home, and a really, really capitulating Norwich team last game of the season who will have fuck all to play for. Like, it's not that bad a run.
It's not.
Tom, how many points? We're just doing the
11.
points thing. 11, thank you. Ben, are you going to say something now?
Yeah, my issue with it is, like, after Tuesday, like, okay, we won yesterday, but Tuesday was when it really mattered and where the players had to show their mettle, and not a single player stepped up to the plate there. The only one that did came off injured. I think if we're coming down to it and he gets to it and we're under serious pressure, right now, I don't have faith in the management or this squad to put in a performance to keep us up. And that's where I'm getting really worried.
We beat Blackburn yesterday. We beat Hull in recent weeks, which was a high pressure game. I understand what you're saying about the Luton game. I think there is some unfairness there.
I just
think we have got results when we've needed them.
Luton was so bad. Like, I can't stress how bad that was. And that's when it really, really mattered. Like, the pressure, that was a game to see us clear. And sort of like, you look at that, another 3 points, 42 points, you're up above Hull. There's just that nice bit of distance there. And psychologically, you're feeling more confident. And the players and the management completely shit the bed when it counted. And it's just how I feel. It's reactionary. It is like, but this is what a weekly podcast is all about.
You've never seen me being reactionary. I'm the least reactionary person in the world. CCFCTM says, I've done 14 aways this season and somehow missed our only 2 wins. Should I stop going? If I see you at an away game between now and the end of the season, I'm breaking your face.
Right, that took a turn.
Only joking, I am.
Could have just asked him I thought you were just say ask him to leave, but no. If you want to break his face, it's up to you, I suppose.
I've seen our only 2 away wins this season, Watford and Blackburn now. So maybe I'm the lucky charm. I've seen us lose as well. Scholar Poe says, I love watching Colwell when he's in full flow, but he sometimes looks a liability when losing the ball softly or from trying to do too much. I'd have been happy with 3 points from the last 2 games, just expected them to come from the other match. The Welsh Wombat says, over the moon with 3 points, but if we'd lost, would that have pushed the board to replace Reza with more experience in the last 8 games? I'm not convinced he's going to keep us up, but I'm not sure this win buying him more time is necessarily a good thing. We'll talk all things Reza after the tweets. Simon Field says the starting 11 saw a return to a Warnock-style away team that will keep you in the game for 60, 70 minutes, then bring on attacking subs to try and win you the game, and it worked, despite a few bumps along the way. James C. Roberts, I think 4 wins gets us over the line. Where do they come from? Are we capable? Well, I was very confident that we were going to beat Blackburn yesterday. So I'm going to say we're going to beat Preston, we're going to beat Oxford, we're going to beat Stoke, we're going to beat QPR, and we're going to beat Norwich on the last day of the season. You heard it here first. I might change my opinion next week. Ryan Lewis, everyone was laughing at us, but I have to say they're not laughing at us now, are they? Well, I think a lot of people are still laughing at us. Eric Wynn Roberts says some people are calling for a change of manager now. I think we can get someone like Cooper or O'Neill long term, maybe do it. If we're looking at Warnock or Allardyce for 8 games, definitely don't. Massive waste of money for only a marginal improvement, if any at all. Sam Thompson, I've spent 1 minute and however many seconds ranting at how Mate came on instead of Ashford. Safe to say, I'd like to formally apologise to LeBrute and my neighbours too for the noisy celebrations. John T.M. Williams says, had a wobble when Yak came on, but hey, what do I know? What has Ashford done? Ben, what has Ashford done? Seems to be that Davis has overtaken him in the pecking order now.
Yeah, it feels a bit harsh, doesn't it? For a bloke that came in, put into unbelievable performances when we were up, like sort of had that nice little run. I know Winger's a patchy and he's a young lad and that his form's going to be up and down, but I feel like for him not getting a look at the moment, it feels very harsh. So I'm not sure.
Well, maybe we'll find out over the next couple of weeks. Rob Jones says feeling slightly less anxious about the season after the midweek shit show. It's only baby steps though, and still loads to do. Like Chopper said in the week, we need to get the CCS bouncing now and be that 12th man. We can help them getting over the line. Connor Griffith, Fish looked solid again, and nice to see Di Turnbull back as well, although his name was misspelt on the back. Callum J. Bowen, Rolls and Ramsey to retire at the end of the season. Should they? No, I don't think so. I don't know if Rolls is going to stick around though. He hasn't signed a new contract. I can't remember if his contract is up this year.
Yeah,
Tom Lang, this rollercoaster of emotions for the next 9 games is going to be painful. Lucky we've only got 8. From Tuesday's doom and gloom to the elation relief of today, it's draining. More positives from today. Great to have Turnbull back and buzzing for Yak. Let's keep the faith and see this through. Neath Blues, relieved that we won and more relieved that it's the international break as watching City is mental torture. What happened to Ashford? Also, the bottom of the table is crazy close. This is the question for you, Ben. DJ in it. Spotted Ben Price in the concourse midweek. Question is, what was he listening to in his headphones? I said Sum 41. Ben?
it depends when it was. Before kickoff, I think I was at some random podcast. Might have been Socially Distant Sports Bar. If it was halftime, did you say before the game?
He didn't specify a time, mate. He just said in the concourse midweek. It could have been on Thursday.
I wasn't in on Thursday.
There we go.
So it wasn't me. But yeah, if it was sort of half-time or full-time, the chances are it probably was Sum 41. Their new album, Heaven and Hell, is superb if you haven't get a chance to listen to it.
That's an official VFTN recommendation. Tom, any albums that you want to recommend this week?
I've been listening to the Tubs again.
Was it Cotton Crown, their new album? Friend of the pod. One of their guitarists is a listener of the podcast. Shout out, Nicholas. If you get the chance, I would definitely recommend the Tubs. I had a good chat with him at Millwall. Mithwash. MJCCFC. Clubs have their identities. To me, ours should always be have quick direct wingers on each side. Surely best chance of staying up is to have them starting as much as possible. I agree. CCFC Joe, Mate redemption arc to save our season. Although he's done well when he's played as centre forward, he's not a winger and playing there destroyed his confidence. Yeah, I'd love to see the Mate redemption. Alhamdulillah, as he posted on Twitter yesterday. All praise be to God, lads. Yeah, are we all thinking about that?
Yeah.
Lanen says it was a battling performance with grit and determination. By no means a fantastic performance, but done the job with a vital 3 points. And seeing the Yak score was lovely to see. Chris Faraday, should he stay or should he go now? We'll talk more about that after this. David Charles, thank goodness for the win. Enough said. Terry Hansons, as I mentioned earlier, a conversation about Colwell has to be had. He's 6'2" for fuck's sake. He's not. He's about 6'6", and he can't tackle worth a shit. He gives the ball away in such dangerous areas, and his thought and overall place is slow. He has skills though. I'll surprise you, Terry. He committed the most successful tackles in the Blackburn match with 3 yesterday. So I think he can tackle. I think, Tom, the conversation about Colwell boils down to his outputs, doesn't it? Because I think everyone can agree he's a fantastic footballer. He had an impact on the game yesterday in terms of in the transition and changing the way we played into the second half. But he doesn't give us enough in terms of goals and assists yet, does he?
No, I wouldn't say so. But we can't afford to leave him out in some of these games either, because he has those moments and nobody else does in certain games. And yeah, he's a big player, but that's not what he's there for. Do you know what I mean? In terms of height and stature, he's not there to be making tackles and stuff. I know it's frustrating, but I don't think it should be just he's tall, he should be good at this. Like, for someone at his height, he shouldn't have the footballing ability he does have with the ball at his feet. So it's a bit of a trade-off. If we're relying on him to be the player to make those tackles, then we're doing something wrong. So, I think you can forgive him that side of his game if he does increase that input of goals and assists. I think that's the problem at the moment, is that we're not quite seeing enough in the other facets of his game to kind of forgive those misgivings.
Didn't speak up earlier, did you, when we were criticising him for shitting out of a tackle? Now we're saying he shouldn't be doing tackles because he's big.
All right.
What's our consistent opinion here, lads? Unbelievable.
Oh, well, yeah, because we're known for that, aren't we? Consistent opinion.
Di Richards, it's the summer. We stay up. Who is your number one signing and who's the manager? If not the Rizzler, then who? Number one signing, Richard Kone from Wickham. Who is the manager? Nathan Jones. Ben Price?
I want Will Alves around. Like, the idea of him tearing up in the Championship for a full season would be fucking lovely. Manager, I don't know. I don't want Nathan. Do I want Nathan Jones?
Yes, you do. I want
The
Nathan
only
Jones
option.
because he'll be fucking mad.
It would be, yeah, go on, fuck it. It'd be a different kind of mad, wouldn't it? Yeah, go on, I'm on it. Yeah.
All right, Nathan Jones. Tom?
I'd go Nathan Jones because he's done it again when he's just jumped into the crowd with Charlton. And I was like, that is... Every time I'm like, I know he's done it before, but it is funny. And like, he genuinely supports us. So can you imagine the reactions if we beat, like, say, Swansea and he's there?
He did in the family stand, though, wouldn't he?
But like,
he gave the Swansea fans a bunch of... he went big guns when he beat them at Luton, didn't he?
Yeah, he did,
down at the Vetch.
I think he'd burst into tears if he did it with us. Yeah. I honestly think he'd be inconsolable. But like in terms of signings, I think we don't really need much more in terms of attacking talent, even though I do like Richard Coney's doing a hell of a job at Wickham. I think I do like the business we've done in the likes of like Salah coming from like Swedish second division, Manswick like really savvy signing from abroad. So I'd like to see more of that.
All right, so you don't know who you want to sign?
Exactly, mate. I have no idea who plays for anyone apart from Cardiff. And that's a stretch sometimes.
Ella Espanola, if only we turned up on Tuesday. Oliver Rees wasn't pretty, but a much needed win. Would you keep that defensive lineup for the same for the rest of the season, meaning Gutas doesn't get in? Yeah, I think it's probably keep that after yesterday, as much as I love Gutas. And then Sven Carr says, each of you to predict how many points would we finish at the end of the season. Tom, how many did you say we're going to finish with?
I said 11, but I think I've undershot what I actually think.
So that would leave us on 50 points. Ben, you said 46?
47.
47. I'm going to go 49. Same as my house number. I've just doxed myself. Twitter.com/TFT Ninian. All your tweets. Thank you to everyone who got their tweets in this week. And now it's the international break. Hooray! But not for all our players. The Arsenal's under-21 manager has said that we're playing them in a friendly on Wednesday at the Arsenal training ground. So there will be some football for the players. I suppose the big question is, Tom, there was, lots of conversation, some of the tweets talking about Reese's future there. What happens now with Reza? Obviously, it felt like it's felt like all season that Reza is only 1 or 2 losses away from losing his job, which is pressure that it's kind of unfair for a manager to operate under, but it is what it is. It's just the way the season has been. It felt like this week, if we'd lost both games, it was a surefire thing that he was going to lose his job. What happens now? We've won one, lost one.
I don't know. Like every time we feel like we're getting to the situation, we win a game.
Yeah,
like it's happened. Like
it was like the Oxford, wasn't it? We lost to Oxford, and then it felt like that was it. But then we won the next couple.
I don't think there's any benefit to getting rid of him now. I really don't. I personally, I think it's too late. I think it's too far gone. I definitely think there has been a dip. I think this playing for the manager thing is not there anymore.
Yeah,
I think like we saw the celebrations in games before where, like I think Robinson went straight over to him celebrating for him. I think that feel-good factor is well and truly gone. I think he looks like a broken man at the moment. I think some of his press conferences border on bizarre at times. I understand where it is coming from. He's had a really, really tough season. Like when he, obviously the sad passing of his father, but then the up and downs of the seasons, the unknowing, like the job security, like that side of it has such an effect. It's such a high pressure job, one he's not used to. Mm-hmm. But I just think you hold on to him for the rest of the season now. There's no way he's here next season. I don't think there's any person who thinks he'll be here next season. I don't think he'd want to be at this point. I think it's kind of gone too far. But I don't know if you disagree, but I don't think there's any benefit to chopping and changing now. I think we've had a lot of like kind of upheaval and turmoil around the club. I wouldn't say it's stable at the moment, but I don't think showing him the door at this stage will bring enough of a benefit for it to be worth it.
Ben, do you agree?
Yes, I know. I totally get everything you're saying there, but I think the key fact is right now the players, the giving your all for the manager's gone. And that's the main thing Reza had. I think the best one in the world with some of the stuff he's done. The main thing he had was the players playing for him. And that's dying off. Even like Callum Robinson, who's like who's been like his number one supporter the whole time, sort of been there and sort of stuck up for him, but his performance has dropped off. The energy's not there anymore. But
yeah,
you are right that it's too late to change it. Realistically, 8 games to go.
Yeah.
There's not many managers that can do it. Reportedly, the only one that could who is there anymore? They've retired. Like the ones you want, they're just not there. So again, it comes down to, and we haven't said it for a while, it comes down to piss pump management from the board. The change, realistically, I think you think back to it, Reza probably shouldn't have been given the job when he was. The timing of it made no sense just before January. They couldn't decide whether he was going to get it. Their backs, like back against the wall, sort of gave him the job. Then they were constantly looking at, can we get rid of him? But they were afraid to look stupid at looking to get rid of him so soon after giving them their full-time job. He shouldn't be here is probably the honest thing. Looking back now with like the record, 5 wins in 25 games. It's not good enough for where we need to be. Not many other managers could like go on that sort of run. He shouldn't be here. I think you're right. I don't think he will want to be here at the end of the season. I think he's just burnt out just emotionally, and that's totally understandable. There's nothing against him for that. But I think he's stuck until the end now. I think as much as I think a change would be good, I don't think they're going to get rid of him.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get rid of him between now and the end of the season. I don't think he will be here next season. I just think it would be unfair as well to get rid of him now. The change would be made after Oxford. In reality, there should have been when we lost that game, it felt like that was the time to do it if there was one. Now it just feels like it would be looked upon negatively, and I don't think there is anyone. To your point, Ben, we talked about it on Friday. The only person really out there is probably someone like Allardyce or Bruce that you would think as someone who can be parachuted in and be given the remit of keep them up, and they would probably do it. Bruce maybe even less so because Bruce isn't really that kind of manager. Allardyce failed when he did it at Leeds. So even he doesn't have the same kind of gravitas as he once did.
Well, Allardyce hasn't done a championship job in 20 years. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
There is no championship firefighter anymore. Warnock was
then you're looking at McCarthy and Warnock, and they're not going to do it, are they? So, I just don't think it'd be silly to make a change. So he's going to be in charge when we come back in 2 weeks' time. Looking around the leagues, we were talking about this in the group chat. Obviously, yesterday it tightened everything up. The results yesterday didn't help anybody in the relegation space. Plymouth are a bit further back. There were wins for other teams around us. Tom, have you ever seen a championship like it? Have you ever been involved in a relegation or promotion race like this, where it seems to be that every week there are pivotal games taking place that impact every team around us?
Yeah, I don't like it. It's really stressing me out.
It is really stressful.
I think it highlights how big that result at Blackburn was. I think we lose that game, the momentum the poor momentum we would have had coming from it. Mm-hmm. I think we would have looked in big, big trouble. But the fact that it's so tight down there now, the Plymouth 33, we're on 39. That gap might be big enough for us, but Derby only being a point behind us. But then Stoke have just floated in that position, it feels like, for months and months and months, on the same amount of points as us. Hull on 41. I think even as high as probably Portsmouth still, because they're only, 4 points above it.
Swansea, 3 points above us. So one win and one loss for them, and we swing it round.
I tell you what, Swansea 6 points above the relegation zone at this point. I think I said it in the chat. I wouldn't be surprised if we finished above them because we're 5 points behind. I can't believe
you said that on the podcast. I thought that.
I don't mind
a behind closed doors conversation.
No, fuck it. They're in free for all at the moment. If you look at Swansea Twitter and stuff as well, their crowds are dwindling. Their chairman's leaving.
Their fans
There's
really
a bad feeling. Their fans are really pissed off, and rightly so. So you're looking from 16th down to 24, all looking at a chance of staying up or a chance of going down. It's fucking madness. So many of those teams are playing each other as well.
Yeah.
And it feels like even teams who have won a couple of games in quick succession are still in the relegation zone. You look at Derby, they've played decent recently. They're still in there. Luton have beaten us and still 4 points behind us. But like it's wild down there, and I hate it. I find myself like Googling the table like every couple of hours just to remind myself how it looks, just to look how tight it is. It's going to be so many twists and turns, and I keep forgetting there's still 8 games left.
Yeah,
like it feels like there should be less.
I thought you were being a bit mad with Swansea.
I'm not for once.
Then I look at their fixtures. They've got Leeds up next.
Yeah.
Then it's Derby. Then it's Plymouth. Then it's Sunderland. Then it's Hull. They've got QPR and Millwall, who have nothing left to play for. And then on the final day, they've got Oxford, who's still in it as well.
Well, you say QPR don't have anything to play for. They're only a point ahead of Swansea. They're only 7 points above the relegation zone. A couple of bad results for them, and they're really dragged back down into it. I think
insane.
It's Norwich, I'd say, are slightly clear because they're on 49 points, so they got the 10-point cushion ahead of us and 11 points on Derby. But up to Preston, there's effectively 9 points, so 3 results could swing either way. And Preston are so hit and miss at times. If we beat Preston, then all of a sudden we're only 4 points behind, or 6 points behind them. They're dragged back into it. I just think it's so open. And we were talking about it in the group chat. I was looking at Derby's fixtures. Obviously, Derby are kind of the form team at the bottom, 3 wins in a row. They got over the next 8 games, they've got to play Stoke, Hull, Luton, and Portsmouth in their final fixtures. Like them staying up is in their hands, and each of those games will be detrimental to the teams they're playing, which will drag them further into the relegation battle. It's just like every week you look at the fixtures and 2 relegation teams are playing each other, or 2 relegation teams are playing each other, and we're playing someone who is slightly above the relegation zone. And it can just change in an instant. Like when that penalty was given yesterday, which was overturned, at that point, Derby have won the game. And it's on the knife edge. That's so pivotal because a point difference means we're in the relegation zone.
It's like you look at it at the moment as well. You look at like the last 6 games. If you look at the form table, the bottom 4 teams in that form table are Oxford, Stoke, Blackburn, and QPR. So we talk about QPR dropping in it. If they carry on with their form, then they could be in and around it.
Yeah.
And then you look at us, Luton, Derby. We're in the middle. We're like 12th, 13th, 14th in the form table. So there's picking up points. Hull, a 6th in the form table. They've picked up points. Normally you're looking at this relegation zone. You're thinking, okay, 7 points is probably enough of a buffer because you're relying on those teams to win games below. But the reality is those teams are winning games below at the moment.
Yeah.
And this is what happens when the mid-table is so shit.
Yeah.
There are people are beating everyone each week. Like you don't know who's going to pick up 3 points because it is that close outside of that kind of top 4. And even Sunderland have dropped right down in the form table at the moment. I think there's so much to play for. And so many teams playing each other. And you look at the run-ins, I hate it because it's going to be exciting as a neutral. But if you're a fan of any of these teams, it's going to be fucking torture for the next few weeks.
There is normally by now, like just throughout the league, when you look at the championship table and like you look on the BBC website, you see like the blocks of like colours on like the form guide. There's normally one team that's got a solid block of green across. There's not a single team that everyone's got something like. Even Leeds, like the last 6 have drawn 2, lost 1. It's like it's crazy how inconsistent this league is. Probably the only two that haven't really that have probably got similar form are Bristol City and West Brom, and they're just winning and drawing.
I am astonished that West Brom are still in the playoff places when they had a run of the games earlier in the season where they drew 11 in a row, and they didn't drop out the playoff races. It just shows how poor the league is this year. I think we always talk about the championship being exciting, being tight, and all that kind of stuff. But this year it's tight because it's terrible. Even Leeds are stuttering. Burnley are up there, and they're not great. They're just really good defensively. I think the only team who kind of exceeded expectations this year is Sheffield United. I didn't expect them to be flying as much as they are, but everybody else is poor. Maybe not Coventry. Coventry have kind of kicked on under Lampard.
Doesn't bode well for next year, does it? When 3 of these teams are going up into a league, and Southampton currently have 9 points in. The gulf between leagues is huge, isn't it?
It's ridiculous, really. You're not really playing for anything anymore, are you? Because you go up and come straight back down. Unless I think Leeds might have the financial muscle to potentially stay up in the Premier League because they've got Red Bull behind them.
I think out of the teams there, Burnley the only one that would stay up because they're just so hard to concede against. They're too hard to go against.
I think that changes in the Premier League unless Parker's got the the balls to carry on with it. I just don't know. I just think it's, I thought Southampton would go up and do all right. I thought this season, but they've just been absolutely stinking. Anyway, we've really lost track. Talking about the Premier League now. International break. What are you boys doing? Ben, you'll go to Copenhagen. Tom,
I'm trying not to end up on Skyscanner. No, I'll be up at it's quite a tidy kickoff time for me, 6:45 a.m. on a Sunday for the Kazakhstan game. So I'm looking forward to that. It is nice to have a bit of a break from Cardiff because it has been mental torture the last few weeks. So it's nice to step into it and just get nervous about Wales instead.
It's a different kind of mental torture, isn't it?
Yeah, with Wales, it's like short, sharp bursts, isn't it? Because you get like a couple of games, then it's off again, and you get a bit of excitement build. Cardiff's just slow one needle at a time, like death by paper cuts, isn't it? Really? Yeah, I think so. It'd be nice to have a few less paper cuts for 2 weeks.
And like Wales, you've got the joy of Craig Bellamy's press conferences, where he's just absolutely just taking the piss out of every single member of the press, which I'm all for. Just love it.
Yeah, well, we might be here next week. I don't know. I can't be asked thinking about that far ahead. I don't know what happened to my voice then either. It's 9:30 on a Sunday night. Ben's going to Copenhagen. Tom's having the Wales football. So we'll be back with a podcast in the next few weeks. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. Twitter.com/VFT Ninian. Please 5-star reviews on the podcast platforms, wherever you get your podcasts. KOFI.com/VFT Ninian. Bit of money. We do this for free. It'd be nice if you gave us some money for the work we do. Ben, good night.
Ta-da.
Tom, good morning.
Thank you very much.
Bye.